The turkey sat between us like a gravestone. My mother, Eleanor, carved it with surgical precision, her diamond ring catching the candlelight. The smell of sage and butter filled the dining room. Outside, snow fell over the New England suburb, muffling the world. Inside, my family was about to eat me alive. "It's just not fair," Robert said, shoving a forkful of mashed potatoes into his mouth. "You sitting on all that money while we're drowning." I watched him chew. My brother, the golden child. His face was flushed from the wine. The third bottle he'd opened. His wife, Tiffany, scrolled through her phone under the table. Stephen sat across from me, knuckles white around his knife. Diane stared at her plate, avoiding my eyes. My mother, Eleanor, pretended not to hear. "I don't have money," I said calmly. "I have a life insurance policy that's barely enough to cover my own bills."
Ból Robert spadł.
300,000. We know about the policy. Dad told us before he died. The table froze. I felt the heat creep up my neck. "Dad told you." "I found the papers," Stephen corrected quickly. "After he passed. In his study. Not that it matters." The point, Eleanor interrupted, setting down the carving knife with a deliberate click, "is that your father always wanted to see this family taken care of. And you've been hoarding what's rightfully theirs." "Theirs. Not mine." I turned to Eleanor. "That money was Frank's. He earned it. He died for it. Every single dollar came from his overtime, his second job, his retirement. You didn't earn a cent of it." "Frank was family," Diane said weakly. "He would have wanted us to share." "Frank is dead," I said. "I'm not." Robert slammed his fist on the table. The crystal glasses rattled. "We are family. You owe us everything, Martha. You owe us for every Sunday dinner we let you come to, every holiday we included you in, every time we didn't say something when you were too busy moping over Frank's grave." I heard the words leave his mouth, and something inside me cracked open. Not sadness, not tears. A laugh. A cold, sharp laugh that made everyone stop chewing. "Think again," I said. The room tilted. I reached into my purse, which was already packed. A small black zipper bag. Inside it, my phone. My voice recorder. And the papers. This is a recording from 4 months ago. "You were drunk, Robert. At O'Malley's bar. You called Stephen to talk about Mom's will. You said I didn't deserve a penny. You said you'd find a way to put me in a home and take everything. The money, the house, Frank's car." Robert went pale. "You're lying." I pressed play. The table fell silent as his slurred voice filled the room. "She's so stupid. No idea what's coming. Mom said if she kicks it, we split it 3 ways. But we gotta make sure she kicks it soon, right? Get her out of that house, put her in some cheap facility, sell the place from under her. She's been a dead weight since Frank croaked." Diane dropped her fork. Stephen stopped breathing. Eleanor's diamond ring clinked against the plate. "Did I miss anything?" I asked. "Because I have 6 more files. 5 texts. A series of emails you sent to a real estate agent. An application to a nursing home that's within the family's budget. I have it all." Robert lunged at me. His chair flew backwards. I expected it. I stepped sideways, out of his reach. "Don't you touch me," I said. "Because the police already have a copy. If anything happens to me tonight, they'll be at this house before the turkey's cold." "You bitch," Stephen hissed. "Interesting word choice," I said. "See, I remember when you used that same word to describe our mother. The night you thought I wasn't listening. That old cow is sitting on a fortune she stole from Dad. That was you, Stephen. I have that recording too." "This is insane," Diane whispered. "This is crazy. We were just talking. We were just planning." I finished for her. "You were just planning." Eleanor stood up slowly. Her hands shook as she placed them on the table for support. "Martha, you need to calm down. We can work this out. We're a family." "Listen to yourself," I said. "You're not offering an apology. You're not admitting anything. You're telling me to calm down. Because you still think you're the one in control." "I am the one in control," she snapped. "I brought you into this world. I raised you. I clothed you, fed you. You charged me rent when I was 17, I said. I ran this house for 6 years after Dad got sick. I cooked every meal. I cleaned every room. I watched you treat Dad like a hired help and Robert like a prince. And when Frank came along, you told me he was beneath me. You said I'd ruin my life with a mechanic. He was a mechanic, Eleanor said, as if that explained everything. He was the love of my life, I said. And he is the reason I am standing here today, with enough evidence to bury every single one of you. I pulled out the house deed. My house deed. The one I'd signed over to my children's trust 3 weeks ago. And the second deed. The one for my mother's house. Did you really think I'd let you take the only thing Frank left me? I asked. I paid off your mortgage 3 months ago. Quietly. Through a shell company. You never even noticed because the payments kept coming from your own account. I routed them. I kept the books. I know every penny you spent, every account you hid, every piece of jewelry you've sold behind my back. Robert's face contorted. You can't do this to us. I just did. I said. The front door opened. My daughter Lily stepped inside, followed by her brother Matthew. Their faces were pale but determined. Behind them stood a uniformed sheriff, his badge glinting. I called them, I said. Not to arrest you. Not yet. But to evict you. Mother, this house is being transferred to the state's care as of midnight tonight. You have 6 hours to pack your things. This is theft. Eleanor screamed. This is justice, I said. 30 years of it. The sheriff tipped his hat and stepped aside. Lily and Matthew walked past him, their boots leaving wet prints on the hardwood floor. Lily's face was stone. Matthew's jaw was tight. They had come prepared for war. Mom, Lily said, her voice steady. We have the moving truck. It's parked 3 blocks away. Didn't want to spook them. I nodded. Good. Eleanor stared at her grandchildren like they were strangers. You would do this to your own grandmother, Lily met her gaze. You tried to put my mother in a nursing home so you could steal her money. You don't get to play the grandmother card. We were just talking, Robert insisted, his voice cracking. That's all. It was stupid drunk talk. It didn't mean anything. It meant enough that you called a realtor, Matthew said. It meant enough that you had the nursing home forms pre-filled. It meant enough that you've been scheming since Dad died. Your father was a good man, Eleanor said, her voice wobbling. He would never have allowed this. Frank allowed everything, I said. That was his problem. He loved me too much to say no. But I'm not him. I'm not going to let you bleed me dry and walk away smiling. Tiffany, Robert's girlfriend, stood up from her chair. She looked pale and shaken. I didn't know about any of this, she said quickly. I just came for dinner. I'm not part of this. Then I suggest you leave, I said. There's a bus stop at the corner. She grabbed her purse and fled. Robert didn't even watch her go. His eyes were fixed on me, burning with hatred. You'll regret this, Martha, he said. I'll make sure you regret this. I've been regretting, I said, for 30 years. Regretting that I didn't do this sooner. Stephen rose from the table. His face was red, veins bulging in his neck. You think you're so clever, don't you? You think you've got it all figured out. But you don't. You have no idea what's out there. You've been in that house, playing the widow, pretending to be broken. You're not broken. You're vicious. I smiled. Not a warm smile. The kind of smile that made him take a step back. You're right, Stephen. I'm not broken. I was. But I fixed myself. And the first thing I fixed was my ability to see you for what you really are. What am I? He demanded. A parasite, I said. All of you. You fed off Frank. You fed off me. You fed off every kindness we ever showed you. And you never once said thank you. Not once. Diane was crying now. Silent tears rolling down her cheeks. Martha, please. We can talk about this. We can fix this. We're sisters. We're not sisters, I said. We stopped being sisters the day you told Robert where I kept my jewelry box. The day you showed him which drawer I hid the insurance papers in. You were never my sister. You were just the person who knew where to look. She opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it. Because she knew I was right. The sheriff cleared his throat. He looked uncomfortable, like a man who had walked into a domestic war zone. "Ma'am, I need to confirm the eviction paperwork. Do you have the court order?" I pulled it from my bag. A thin sheet of paper with a judge's signature at the bottom. I had filed it 2 weeks earlier, after months of preparation. The court had ruled in my favor. The house was mine. "Here," I said, handing it over. He read it carefully. Then he nodded. "This is an order. You have the legal right to take possession at midnight. The residents have 6 hours to vacate." 6 hours, Robert shouted. "You can't expect us to pack our whole lives in 6 hours." "Expect all you want," the sheriff said calmly. "The law says 6 hours from service. And you've just been served." Eleanor sank back into her chair. For the first time, she looked old. Her face had crumpled like paper. "My house," she whispered. "My mother's house. The one I grew up in. The one I raised you in." "Your mother's house," I repeated. "The one she left to you and Dad. The one you mortgaged 3 times to pay Robert's debts. The one you almost lost to foreclosure if I hadn't stepped in. And you never told me. None of you ever told me. You just let me keep paying for everything." "We didn't want to worry you," Diane said weakly. You didn't want to tell me because you knew I'd stop paying," I corrected. "You knew I'd ask questions. You knew I'd realize that Robert wasn't starting a business, he was gambling. That Stephen wasn't in law school, he was dealing. That Diane wasn't going to therapy, she was spending Frank's money on vacations." Diane gasped. "How did you know about that?" "I knew everything," I said. "I just waited. I waited until I had enough. And now I have enough." Lily stepped forward. She put her hand on my shoulder. "Mom, the truck is ready. We can start moving things now." "What do you want us to take?" "Everything," I said. "Everything that isn't nailed down. The china, the silver, the paintings, the furniture. I want it all out. Donate it to the Salvation Army. Sell it. Burn it. I don't care. Just make sure it's gone by midnight." "This is a home," Eleanor protested. "This is our heritage." "This is a house," I said. "And it's no longer yours." I turned away and walked to the kitchen. The kitchen I had cleaned 1,000 times. The kitchen where I had made Thanksgiving dinners, Christmas cookies, birthday cakes for children who never thanked me. I opened the pantry. Cans of soup, boxes of cereal, bottles of wine. All bought with Frank's money. All taken for granted. I took the wine bottles. One by one. I carried them to the sink and poured them down the drain. The red liquid swirled and vanished. Robert watched from the doorway, his face twisted with rage. "Those were expensive," he said. "They were stolen," I said. "From my house. From my cellar. You took them when you came to visit last month. You thought I wouldn't notice. But I notice everything now." I finished with the wine. I moved to the refrigerator. I pulled out the leftovers. The turkey, the stuffing, the pies. I threw them all in the garbage. Every last bit of it. "Mom," Matthew said. "What are you doing cleaning house?" I said. "Literally. I'm purging every trace of them." He nodded slowly. He understood. He always understood. It took 5 hours to clear the house. The moving truck filled up quickly. Boxes of clothes. Bags of shoes. Trunks of memories. Eleanor sat in the living room, her arms folded, refusing to speak. Stephen smoked cigarettes on the porch, glaring at the driveway. Diane helped pack, her hands shaking. Robert disappeared. He had left the house the moment we started. I didn't care where he went. I knew he'd be back. He always came back when money was involved, and at 5 minutes to midnight, the house was empty.
Stript bara.
The floors were scuffed where the furniture had been. The walls were marked with dusty outlines of paintings. The silence was enormous. Eleanor stood at the front door. She clutched a small suitcase. Everything she owned was inside it.
Clothes.
A few photos. Some costume jewelry. "This isn't finished," she said. "You think you've won, but you haven't. You've just started something you can't stop." "I've already stopped it," I said. "I stopped it the moment I decided to fight back." "And what about your children?" she asked. "What about the shame you've brought on this family, on our name?" "My children are proud of me," I said. "And our name was never worth much anyway. It was just a word that let you get away with everything." The sheriff appeared at the door. "Ma'am, it's midnight. Time to go." Eleanor walked out. Stephen followed. Diane lingered, looking back at the house one last time. "I'm sorry," she whispered. For what, I asked. She couldn't answer. She didn't know. She had been sorry for so many things, but she had never done anything about it. Diane left. The door closed behind her, that I stood in the empty living room. Lily and Matthew stood beside me. The house was cold. The furnace had been turned off. But I didn't feel cold. I felt warm. I felt alive. "Mom," Lily said. "You did it. You actually did it." "I did," I said. "And you helped. Both of you. I couldn't have done this without you." "We learned from the best," Matthew said, putting his arm around me. I looked at the bare walls, the empty floor, the silence that was finally mine. "Is it wrong that I don't feel sad?" I asked. "No," Lily said. "It's called freedom." We left the house together. The three of us. We walked to the car. The snow was falling again. The streets were white and quiet. I turned back one last time. The house stood dark and empty.
No lights. No voices.
No demands. That I closed the door on 30 years. And I didn't look back. I didn't sleep that night. The motel room was cold, the heater rattling like a dying animal. I lay on the thin mattress, staring at the water stain on the ceiling. My phone sat on the nightstand, silent for the first time in hours. Robert had stopped calling. Stephen had stopped texting. Even Diane had given up. That worried me more than anything. I got up at dawn. The sun was pale and weak, filtering through the cheap curtains. I dressed in the same clothes from the night before. I didn't have anything else. My suitcase was still in the car.
I hadn't unpacked.
I went to the diner again. Maggie, the waitress, was already there. She poured me coffee before I even sat down. "Rough night?" she asked. "You could say that." I said. "Want to talk about it?" I hesitated. Then I told her everything. The recordings, the house, the family, the eviction. I didn't hold anything back. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she let out a low whistle. "Holy cow," she said. "You really did all that." "I really did." "And you're not in jail?" "Not yet," I said. "Give it time." She laughed. It was a warm laugh, the kind that made you feel like you weren't alone. "You know what I think? I think you're the bravest person I've met in a long time." "I don't feel brave," I said. "I feel empty." "That's just the adrenaline wearing off," she said. "Eat something. You'll feel better." She brought me eggs and toast. I ate them slowly. They tasted like nothing. But I ate anyway. My phone buzzed. I looked at the screen. It was my lawyer, David. I'd hired him 6 months ago after I started planning all of this. He was sharp, expensive, and completely ruthless. I trusted him completely. "Martha," he said, his voice clipped and professional. "I have some news. Your brother Robert was arrested last night." I nearly choked on my toast. "What? Why?" "Drunk driving. He crashed his car into a police cruiser. He's in county lockup. They're holding him for bail." I put down the toast. "How much?" $50,000, David said. "His girlfriend already called. She wants you to pay it." I laughed. I couldn't help it. "She wants me to pay it. She says you owe him. Because of what you did." "Tell her the Bank of Martha is permanently closed," I said. "He can rot in there for all I care." David paused. "There's more. Your mother had a stroke this morning. She's in the hospital. They're running tests." The coffee cup stopped halfway to my mouth. "A stroke, mild, they think. But she's sedated. The doctors are monitoring her. Your sister Diane is there. She's been trying to reach you." I set the cup down slowly. "I need to go. Martha, be careful. They're going to try to manipulate you. They know you're vulnerable now." "I'm not vulnerable," I said. "I'm done being vulnerable." I hung up. Maggie was watching me with concern. "Everything okay?" "I have to go to the hospital," I said. "My mother had a stroke." "You want me to come with you?" I looked at her. A stranger. A woman I'd known for less than 24 hours. And she was offering to stand beside me. "Thank you," I said. "But I need to do this alone." She nodded. "You know where to find me if you change your mind." I drove to the hospital. It was a 20-minute trip through the snow-covered suburbs. The roads were empty. Everyone was still recovering from Thanksgiving. The hospital parking lot was half full. I found a spot near the entrance. Diane was waiting in the lobby. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked like she hadn't slept all night. "Martha," she said, her voice cracking. "Thank God you came." "Is she okay?" "They don't know yet."
She's in the ICU.
"They won't let anyone see her except family." "I am family," I said. Diane looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. "I know. I told them you were coming." We walked to the ICU together. The hallways were sterile and white. The smell of antiseptic hung in the air. Everything was quiet except for the beeping of machines. The nurse at the desk looked up. "Are you family?" "I'm her daughter," I said. She sedated. "You can see her, but she won't be conscious." I walked into the room. Eleanor lay in the bed, hooked up to monitors and IVs. Her face was pale. Her eyes were closed. She looked smaller than I remembered.
Frail.
Breakable. I stood at the foot of the bed. I didn't know what to feel. Anger, sadness, relief, it was all mixed together into a knot in my chest. "She can't hear you," the nurse said from the doorway. "But you can talk to her if you want." I looked at Eleanor, at the woman who had raised me, the woman who had taught me to cook, to clean, to serve, the woman who had also taught me that my worth was measured by what I could do for others. "Mother," I said softly, "I don't know if you can hear me, but I need to say this. I'm not sorry for what I did. I'm sorry it had to come to this. But I'm not sorry." Diane was standing in the hallway, crying silently. Stephen was nowhere to be seen. Robert was in jail. The family that had once been so strong was scattered and broken. And I was the one who had broken them. I stayed at the hospital for 3 hours. The doctors came and went. They said Eleanor was stable. They said she would likely recover. They said the stroke was mild, but that she'd need rehabilitation. Rehabilitation, Diane repeated, as if it was a foreign word. "What does that mean?" "It means she'll need physical therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy. She'll need help with basic tasks for a while. She'll need someone to take care of her," I said. Diane looked at me. "Martha, I can't. I have the kids. I have Greg. You have a life." I finished for her. "I know. Everyone has a life. But I'm not taking her. I'm done taking care of her." "She's our mother," Diane said, her voice trembling. "She was our mother," I said. "But she stopped being a mother a long time ago. She was a boss, a dictator, a collector of debts. But she wasn't a mother." "You're so cold," Diane whispered. "I'm honest," I said. "There's a difference." We stood in silence. The beeping of the monitors filled the space between us. "Where's Stephen?" I asked. "He went home. He said he couldn't handle it." "And Robert?" "Jail. He called Greg. Begged for bail money. Greg told him no." I raised an eyebrow. "Greg said no." "Greg has a heart," Diane said. "He's been through a lot with your family, Martha. A lot. And he's finally had enough." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I left the hospital at noon. The snow had stopped. The sky was a pale, cold blue. I walked to my car and sat in the driver's seat. My phone buzzed. "Matthew, Mom, I heard about Grandma. Is she okay?" "She'll live," I said. "But she's going to need a lot of help." "Are you going to help her?" I paused. "I don't know yet. I need to think." "Mom," he said carefully, "whatever you decide, I'm with you. Lily's with you. We're all with you." "I know," I said. "Thank you." I drove back to the motel. The room was the same. Cold. Empty.
Cheap.
But it was mine for now. I sat on the bed and looked at my reflection in the mirror. The face staring back at me was tired. But it was also determined. I'd come too far to back down now. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from an unknown number. "I know what you're doing. And I'm watching." I felt my blood run cold. I typed back, "Who is this?" No response. I sat there, staring at the screen. The text was vague. It could be anyone. Robert from a burner phone. Stephen trying to scare me. Even Diane, though she'd never been brave enough for something like this. But it could also be someone else. Someone I didn't know. Someone who had been watching the situation unfold. That I realized then that I had made enemies. Not just my family, but others who might have benefited from my silence. Other people who had been in on the schemes. Other people who had something to lose. I thought about the real estate agent Robert had contacted. The nursing home administrator who had pre-filled the forms. The lawyer who had helped them plan the transfer of my assets. That I thought about all the people who had stayed silent while my family plotted against me. All the people who had watched and said nothing. And I realized the war wasn't over. It was just beginning. I called David, my lawyer. I need a list of everyone Robert and Stephen contacted in the past 2 years. Anyone who might have been involved in the scheme. That's a wide net, he said. Cast it, I said. And, David, I need security. Someone to watch my back. That's going to cost you. I don't care, I said. I have the money. The trust fund. The accounts. I'll pay whatever it takes. There was a pause. Martha, are you in danger? I don't know, I said. But I'm not going to wait to find out. I hung up and packed my things. I wasn't staying at the motel another night. I didn't feel safe there anymore. I drove to a hotel in the next town. A nicer place. A place with security cameras and a doorman. I checked in under a different name. I used a credit card that couldn't be traced. I went to my room and locked the door. And then I waited. The next morning, my phone exploded. Robert was out on bail. Stephen was calling me nonstop. Diane had left me 11 voicemails. Even my mother's nurse called to say Eleanor was asking for me. I ignored them all. I had work to do. I pulled out my laptop and started compiling everything. The recordings, the documents, the emails. I organized them into folders. I labeled them by date and subject. I created a master file that would be impossible to contest. David had sent me the list of contacts. I went through each name. Some were obvious. The realtor, a man named Peter Cole. The nursing home administrator, a woman named Janet Miller. The family lawyer, a man named George Thompson. But there were others. Names I didn't recognize. People I had never met. People who had been quietly helping my family plan my destruction. I called David. Who is Andrea Russo? She's the accountant who managed the family's accounts, he said. She's the one who flagged the insurance payout to Robert. Apparently, your mother asked her to look into it. And what did she find? Nothing. Because you'd already moved the money into the trust. And you're sure she was working with them? She was working for them, Martha. She was their employee. But I don't know if she knew what they were planning. I hung up and stared at the wall.
Andrea Russo.
I'd never met her. I'd never even heard her name. But she had been inside my mother's accounts, looking at my money, deciding what to do with it. I didn't just have a family problem. I had a network problem. I needed to know who else was involved. I needed to know how far the rot went. And I needed to know who had sent me that text. I called the police. Not the local ones, but the state police. I told them about the threat. I gave them the number. They said they'd look into it, but I didn't trust them. I trusted no one. I spent the next 3 days in my hotel room. I didn't go out. I ordered room service. I watched the news. I waited. On the 4th day, I got a call from an unfamiliar number. I answered it. Martha Whitman, the voice was female. Professional. This is Andrea Russo. I'm the accountant who worked for your mother. I gripped the phone. I know who you are. Good. Then you know I have information you might find useful. I know you've been helping them, I said. So whatever you have, I don't trust it. I wasn't helping them, she said. I was trying to find a way out of helping them. Your brother Robert wanted me to falsify documents. He wanted me to hide money. He wanted me to help him steal from you. And did you? No, she said. I refused. That's why I'm calling you. I refused and he threatened me. So did your mother. They said they'd ruin me. They said they'd make sure I never worked again. And now you want to come clean. I want to protect myself, she said. And I want to help you. I have files, emails, records, everything they asked me to do. I kept copies. I paused. This could be a trap. It could be a setup. But it could also be exactly what I needed. Where are you? I asked. I'm in the city. I can meet you anywhere. Pick a place, I said. Somewhere public. Somewhere with cameras. She named a coffee shop in the city center.
Busy.
Crowded. Safe? I'll be there in an hour, I said. I drove to the coffee shop. I got there early. I found a table in the corner, where I could see the door. I ordered a coffee and waited. Andrea Russo walked in at exactly 12. She was a woman in her late 40s, dressed in a plain suit. She looked nervous. Her hands were shaking. She saw me and walked over. Martha, have a seat. She sat down.
She didn't order anything.
She just opened her bag and pulled out a folder. I have everything here, she said. Bank statements. Emails.
Notes.
They've been planning this for years. They were just waiting for the right moment. I opened the folder. The documents inside were damning. Forged signatures. Hidden accounts. Transfers that were designed to look like tax payments. It was all there. Your brother Robert, she said, isn't just in debt. He owes over $200,000 to a loan shark. Your mother was trying to cover it with your money. My mother was covering his debts with my money. She was trying to, Andrea said. But you moved the insurance payout before she could get to it. That's why they were so angry at Thanksgiving. They'd been counting on it. I sat back in my chair. The pieces were finally falling into place. They were desperate, I said. That's why they pushed so hard. Desperate people do desperate things, Andrea said. And Robert isn't just desperate. He's dangerous. He's been making threats.
To me.
To his ex-girlfriend. To anyone who gets in his way. Have you told the police? No, she said. They told me to come to you first. They said you'd know what to do.
Who told you? She paused.
A man named David. Your lawyer. I felt a wave of relief. David had set this up. He'd been working behind the scenes, bringing people to me, building my case to... Thank you, I said. I'll take it from here. I went back to the hotel and spent the rest of the day going through the files. It was a lot, but it was also everything I needed. Robert had been gambling for years. He'd lost money on everything. Sports betting, online poker, illegal card games. He'd taken out loans he couldn't pay. He'd borrowed from everyone he knew. And when he ran out of people to borrow from, he'd turned to my mother. And my mother had turned to me. I wasn't just a victim. I was a resource. A resource they'd been harvesting for years. And now I was reclaiming what was mine. I called David. I have everything. The evidence. The witnesses. The records.
When can we press charges? Not yet, he said.
We need to be strategic. We need to make sure we have everything watertight. One mistake, and they'll walk. I understand. In the meantime, he said, stay safe. Don't go anywhere alone. And don't talk to any of them without me on the line. I agreed. I hung up. I locked the door. And I waited. The text came the next morning. Same number. Same vague words. You think you're safe. You're not. I know where you are. I felt the fear rise in my chest. But I also felt the anger. The same cold, sharp anger that had gotten me through Thanksgiving. I typed back. Come find me. I sent the text and waited. My phone buzzed immediately. I'm already here. I ran to the door. I looked through the peephole. The hallway was empty. I called the front desk. Did anyone ask for my room this morning? No, ma'am. No one. I sat on the bed, my heart pounding. They were playing with me. They wanted me to be afraid. They wanted me to run. But I wasn't going to run. I called David. They found me.
I don't know how.
But they found me. You need to get out of there.
Now.
I'm not leaving, I said. I'm done running. If they want to fight, they'll get one. Martha, be reasonable. I hung up. I packed my things. I checked out of the hotel. And I went to the one place no one would expect me to go. I went home. My home. The one I'd shared with Frank. It had been sitting empty for weeks. The real estate agent had a key, but they hadn't shown it yet. I still had the spare key hidden under the flower pot. I let myself in. The house was cold and dark. The dust had settled on the furniture. The memories were thick in the air, but it was mine. And I wasn't afraid. The house smelled like dust and old memories. I walked through the rooms, touching the furniture, the walls, the frames of the photos I had taken down. Frank's workshop was still in the basement. His tools hung on the pegboard, exactly where he'd left them. I ran my fingers over a hammer.
Cold. Still.
I went to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. Empty. Of course. I'd cleared it out before I left. But there was a can of coffee in the pantry. I made a pot. The sound of the percolator filled the silence that I sat at the kitchen table. The same table where Frank and I had shared 1,000 meals. The same table where my children had done their homework. The same table where I had cried alone, night after night. After Frank died, I wasn't crying anymore. I was done crying that the front doorbell rang. I didn't move. I knew who it was. I had expected them. I looked through the peephole. Stephen, standing on the porch, his hands shoved into his pockets. His face was red from the cold. Or from anger. Probably both. I opened the door. You have 5 minutes. 5 minutes, he pushed past me into the house. You evict us, you destroy the family, you send Robert to jail, and you give me 5 minutes. That's generous, I said. You want more? You can talk to my lawyer. He spun around, his eyes wild. You think this is over? You think you've won? Robert's out. He's got connections. People who owe him favors. You've made an enemy of the wrong person, Martha. Is that a threat? It's a warning. He stepped closer. You're not safe. None of you are safe. Robert's been talking. He's been drinking. He's been saying things. Crazy things. He blames you for everything. He blames me for the mess he made. I laughed. That's rich. Martha, listen to me. I didn't agree with what he did. I never wanted to hurt you. But you went too far. You took the house. You took the money. You took everything. And now he's got nothing to lose. I studied his face. Stephen was scared. I could see it in the lines around his eyes, the tightness of his jaw. He wasn't here to threaten me. He was here to warn me. Where is he now? I asked. I don't know. He left the house this morning. He said he had something to take care of. I tried to stop him, but he wouldn't listen. Then why are you here? He paused. Because you're my sister. And even after everything, I don't want to see you get hurt. I didn't know if I believed him.
But I also didn't have a choice.
I couldn't trust him, not completely. But I could use him. Tell me everything, I said. Everyone he's talked to. Everyone he's threatened. Everyone who might be helping him. He hesitated. Then he started talking. Stephen gave me names, addresses, phone numbers. He told me about Robert's contacts, his debtors, his enablers. He told me about the loan shark, a man named Marco, who operated out of a bar in the city. He told me about the real estate agent who had been ready to list my house without my knowledge. He told me about the nursing home administrator who had been promised a cut of the proceeds. He told me about a burner phone Robert had been using for weeks. A phone that couldn't be traced. I wrote it all down. Every detail. Every named, thank you, I said when he was done. Just stay away from him, Stephen said. Don't answer his calls. Don't open your door. He's not the same person he used to be. He's desperate, and desperate people do terrible things. I nodded. I know. He left. I locked the door behind him. I took the list and went to my office. Frank's old office. The one where he used to work late into the night, doing paperwork for clients who never paid on time. I sat at his desk. I opened his drawer. There was a photograph of us together. A younger us. A happy us. I looked at it for a long moment. Then I set it aside. I had work to do, but I called David. I have new information. Robert is escalating. He's been making threats. He has a burner phone. He might be getting help from a loan shark. I'll put a security detail on you immediately, David said. And I'll talk to the police. We need to file a restraining order.
File it, I said.
But I'm not going into hiding. I'm staying here. Martha, I'm staying in my house, I said. Frank's house. The house I raised my children in. I'm not letting Robert take that from me, too. There was a pause. I understand, David said. But I need you to be careful. Don't go anywhere alone. Keep your phone on you at all times. And if you see anything suspicious, call the police immediately. David, I've been suspicious of my own family for 30 years. I know how to watch my back. I hung up. I went to the window and looked out at the street. The snow was melting. The sun was setting. The neighborhood was quiet, but I knew Robert was out there. Somewhere. Watching. Waiting. And and I was ready. The next few days were a waiting game. I stayed in the house. I kept the curtains drawn. I answered the door for no one. I ordered groceries online and had them delivered. I checked every window lock. I set the alarm system that I felt like a prisoner in my own home. But I wasn't a prisoner. I was a soldier. And soldiers waited for the enemy to make the first move. On the third night, I heard a noise. It was a sound I knew. A sound from the basement. The old boiler, Frank had always said. It makes those sounds when the pipes freeze. I told myself that's what it was. The pipes. Just the pipes. But then I heard footsteps. I grabbed my phone. I tiptoed to the top of the basement stairs. I listened. The footsteps were soft. Deliberate. Someone was trying to be quiet. I dialed 911. I whispered my address. I told them someone was in my house. Then I went downstairs. The basement was dark. The only light came from a small window near the ceiling. I flipped the switch. The overhead bulb flickered on. And Robert was standing there. He looked terrible. His clothes were rumpled. His eyes were bloodshot. His hands were shaking.
He was holding something.
A crowbar. From Frank's workshop. Martha, he said, his voice hoarse. You didn't think I'd let you get away with it, did you? Robert, what are you doing? I kept my voice calm. The police were on their way. I just needed to stall, taking back what's mine, he said. This house. The money. Everything. You had no right. I had every right, I said. Frank left it to me. It was never yours. Frank was a fool, Robert spat. He married you because he felt sorry for you. Everyone felt sorry for you. You were always the pathetic one. The sad widow. The lonely spinster. But you're not pathetic. You're calculating. You're cold. You're a snake. I didn't flinch. If I'm a snake, I learned from the best. He lunged at me. I stepped aside. The crowbar swung through the air, where I'd been standing. I ran for the stairs. He was faster than I expected. He grabbed my arm. I fell. The concrete floor hit my knee. Pain shot up my leg. Get off me. I screamed. You ruined everything, he growled. You ruined the family. You ruined my life. And now I'm going to ruin yours. I kicked. My foot connected with his shin. He grunted and loosened his grip. I scrambled up the stairs. He followed. I could hear him behind me, breathing hard, cursing under his breath. I got to the top of the stairs and slammed the door shut. I locked it from the outside. The lock was old. It wouldn't hold him for long. I heard him pound on the door. You can't keep me in here. I don't have to, I said. The police are on their way. Let me out, Martha.
Now.
His voice was desperate, almost pleading. No, I said. You made your choice. You chose to break in. You chose to threaten me. And now you're going to pay for it. There was a crash from the basement. He was using the crowbar on the door. The wood splintered. I backed away. I ran to the front door. I unlocked it. I ran outside into the cold night air. The police arrived a moment later. 3 cars. They surrounded the house. They went inside. I heard shouting. I heard scuffling. I heard Robert screaming. And then I heard handcuffs clicking shut. They brought Robert out in cuffs. His face was a mask of rage. He spat at me. The officer pushed him into the back of the car. The door slammed. One of the officers approached me. Ma'am, are you all right? I'm fine, I said. He didn't hurt me. You're lucky, she said. He could have killed you. He wouldn't have, I said. He was too scared. But I wasn't sure if that was true. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. I went inside. The house was a mess. The basement door was hanging off its hinges. The living room was disrupted. I sat on the sofa and let out a long breath that I had survived. But I knew this wasn't the end. The next morning, I visited my mother in the hospital. She was awake now. Her face was thin, her eyes sunken. But she recognized me. Martha, she said.
Her voice was weak.
I heard what happened. Robert is in jail again. Permanently this time, I said. They're charging him with breaking and entering. Assault with a deadly weapon. He's not getting out. She closed her eyes. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry for everything. I looked at her. For 30 years, I had dreamed of hearing those words. But now that they were here, They felt empty, like a confession from a criminal who'd been caught. Are you sorry? I asked. Or are you just sorry that it all fell apart? She opened her eyes. They were wet. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. I'm sorry I let them treat you like that. I'm sorry I was so weak. Weak, I laughed. You were the strongest person in the family. You ran everything. You controlled everyone. You used me, Mother. You used me as a servant, as a bank, as a punching bag, and you called it love. I didn't know how else to survive, she said. Your father was distant. Your brothers were demanding. And you were the only one who didn't push back. So I pushed you. You pushed me right into the ground. I said that I stood up. I need to go. Martha, wait. No, I said. I'm done listening. I'm done forgiving. I'm done pretending that any of this was okay. You made your choices. And now you have to live with them. I walked out. I didn't look back, I didn't go home. I went to the diner. The place where I had found an unexpected ally. Maggie was working. She looked up as I walked in. Rough day, she asked. Rough life, I said. But I'm getting through it. She poured me a coffee. You want to talk about it? Not today, I said. Today, I just want to sit. She nodded. She left me alone. And I sat there, watching the snow melt under the gray sky, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. I felt peace. Later that night, I got a call from Lily. She was crying. Dad, Mom, I saw the news. Robert was arrested. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said. He didn't hurt me. Mom, you have to get out of there. It's not safe. It's not safe anywhere, I said. But I'm not running anymore.
I'm staying.
Can I come see you? She asked. I hesitated. Not yet. Let me handle this first. I'll come to you when it's over. When will it be over? I don't know, I said. But I'll know when it is. We talked for a while. She told me about her life,
Her job,
her boyfriend, her plans for the future. She was happy. And that made me happy. After I hung up, I sat in the dark. I thought about Frank. I thought about my children. I thought about the life I had lost and the life I was building. And I realized that I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. Robert's trial was quick. The evidence was overwhelming. The recordings, the documents, Andrea Russo's testimony, Stephen's confession. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. They came back with a guilty verdict on all counts. The judge sentenced him to 12 years in state prison. 12 years. I sat in the courtroom and listened. I felt nothing. Not relief. Not anger. Not sadness. Just a quiet, empty, calmed. Robert looked at me as they led him away. His face was hollow. His eyes were dead. He didn't say anything. He just stared. And then he was gone. Stephen and Diane came to me after the trial. Diane was crying. Stephen looked exhausted. It's over, Diane said. It's finally over. No, I said. It's not over. It's just different now. What do you mean? Stephen asked. I mean, we're still a family, I said. But we're not the same family we were before. That family is gone. And if we're going to have a relationship, it's going to be a new one. One built on honesty. One built on respect. One built on the understanding that I am not your doormat. Diane nodded. I understand. Do you? I asked. Because I need you to prove it. I need you to show me that you can change. That you want to change. I do, she said. I want to try. Good, I said. Start by not asking me for anything for the next year. Not money. Not favors. Not even a ride to the airport. If you can do that, maybe we can talk again. She looked hurt, but she nodded. Stephen said nothing. He just walked away. I went home. The house was quiet. The repairman had fixed the basement door. The alarm system had been upgraded. The security cameras were in place. I sat in Frank's chair. I thought about everything that had happened. The Thanksgiving dinner. The recordings. The eviction. The hospital. The confrontation in the basement. It felt like a lifetime. But it had only been 3 months that I picked up the phone. I called my children. Lily, Matthew, I said. I need you to come home. This weekend. I have something to tell you. They came on Saturday. Both of them. Lily brought her boyfriend, a young man named David who seemed kind and steady. Matthew brought a friend, a woman named Rachel who he clearly cared about. We sat in the living room. The fire crackled in the fireplace. The house was warm. It felt like a home again. "Mom, what's going on?" Lily asked. "You said it was important." "It is," I said. "I've been thinking a lot. About the future. About what comes next." "Are you moving?" Matthew asked. "Are you leaving the house?" "No," I said.
I'm staying.
"This is my home. But I want to make some changes." "What kind of changes?" I took a deep breath. "I'm going to sell the trust fund. The one Frank set up for me. I'm going to use the money to start a foundation. A foundation that helps women in abusive situations. Women who are being taken advantage of by their families. Women who don't have a voice." Lily stared at me. "Mom, that's amazing." "It's not amazing," I said. "It's necessary. I know what it's like to be silenced. I know what it's like to be used. And I want to help other women find their voice." Matthew nodded slowly. "What about the house?" "The house stays," I said. "It stays in the family. But I'm changing the deed. I'm putting it in all three of our names. Yours, Lily's, and mine. When I'm gone, you'll inherit it together." "Mom," Lily said, her voice wavering. "You don't have to do that." "I know I don't have to," I said. "But I want to.
I want to build something that lasts.
Something that means something." We talked for hours. About the future. About the foundation. About our lives. About what we wanted to build together. It felt like the first real conversation we'd ever had. And for the first time in years, I felt hopeful. The foundation took time. A lot of time. There was paperwork. Permits. Legal hoops to jump through. But I didn't mind the work. It gave me purpose. It gave me direction. I named it the Frank Whitman Foundation, in honor of the man who had given me everything. The man who had loved me when I couldn't love myself. The mission was simple: to provide legal and financial support to women who were trapped in abusive family situations. I hired lawyers. I hired social workers. I hired a team of people who believed in the cause. And I didn't ask my family for a single cent. 6 months later, I received a letter from my mother. Handwritten. On elegant stationery. She must have practiced for days. "Martha, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I've done terrible things. But I want you to know that I've been thinking about everything. About all the years I let you down. And I'm sorry that I'm in a rehab facility now. Not the kind you probably think. I'm here for my health. My stroke left me weak. I need help to walk. I need help to eat. I need help to do almost everything. And I think about you every day. I think about how strong you are, how brave you are, how you survived all of us and came out the other side. I don't expect you to visit. I don't expect you to call. But I wanted you to know that I'm proud of you. For the first time in my life, I'm proud of you, to your mother, Eleanor." I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in the drawer. I didn't call. I didn't visit. But I kept the letter. Stephen came to see me one afternoon. He looked different. Lighter. Calmer. "I've been going to therapy," he said. "It's helping. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. About Dad.
About Mom.
About Robert.
About you."
"That's good," I said. "I'm also working," he said. "A real job. Nothing exciting. But I'm paying my own bills. I'm not asking anyone for money." "Good," I said again. "Are we ever going to be okay?" he asked. I paused. "I don't know," I said. "But we're better than we were. And that's a start." He nodded. He didn't stay long. But before he left, he put something on the kitchen counter. It was a photograph. A picture of the 3 of us. Me, Stephen, and Diane. We were children. We were laughing. We were happy. I looked at the photograph for a long time. Then I put it on the refrigerator, right next to the picture of Frank. Diane changed. I didn't expect it. But she did. She stopped calling for money. She stopped making excuses. She started taking responsibility for her own life. She came to visit me on a rainy Sunday. She brought flowers. Lilies. My favorite. "I know I don't have a right to ask," she said. "But I wanted to see you. I wanted to tell you that I'm changing. I'm doing better. I'm trying to be a better person." "Are you?" I asked. "I'm trying," she said. "That's all I can do." I looked at her. The sister who had betrayed me. The sister who had told Robert where my jewelry was. The sister who had never defended me. And I realized something. I didn't have to forgive her. But I didn't have to hate her either. I can't give you a clean slate, I said. But I can give you a chance. One chance. Don't waste it,
she cried.
But she was smiling. I drove to the cemetery on Thanksgiving morning. The snow was falling. The same kind of snow that had fallen the night I walked away from my family. I stood at Frank's grave. The headstone was simple. His name.
His dates.
A single line that I had chosen. He loved me when I forgot how. I knelt down. I brushed the snow off the stone. I did it, Frank, I said. I finally did it. I got away from them. I built something new. Something good. The wind blew. The snow fell. I miss you, I said. I miss you every day. But I'm okay. I'm better than okay. I'm free. I stood up. I looked at the sky. The clouds were gray, but there was light behind them.
Thin, pale,
but real. I walked back to my car. My phone buzzed. A text from Lily. See you at dinner, Mom. I'm bringing the mashed potatoes. I smiled. I typed back. I'll bring the pie. I drove to Lily's house. It was a small place. Cozy. Full of love. Matthew was already there. Rachel was with him. Diane and Stephen were there too. They were setting the table. They were laughing. They had brought food.
Turkey.
Stuffing. Vegetables. Everything. I walked in. The smell hit me. The same smell that had been in my mother's house on that horrible night. But it didn't make me feel sick. It made me feel hungry. It made me feel alive. Martha, Stephen said, looking up. You're here. I'm here, I said. Good, he said. We saved you a seat. I sat down at the table. Not in the corner. Not near the kitchen. Not invisible. I sat at the head. The place that had always been Frank's. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I belonged. We ate dinner. We talked. We laughed. We told stories. Diane told me she was going back to school. Stephen told me he was seeing a therapist. Lily told me she was getting married next spring. Matthew told me he was going to propose to Rachel. I listened. I smiled. I felt something warm spread through my chest. This was my family. Not the one I was born into. The one I had chosen. The one I had built. And it was beautiful. The dinner ended. People drifted into the living room. I stayed at the table. My plate was clean. My glass was empty. I looked around the room. Lily was showing Matthew a video on her phone. Diane was pouring coffee. Stephen was telling a joke. Rachel was laughing. And I was watching. Not as a servant. Not as a victim. Not as a doormat. As a survivor. I thought back to that Thanksgiving night. The night my family had shouted at me. The night they had demanded everything. The night I had finally smiled and said, think again. I had meant it. And I had proven it. I didn't owe them anything. I didn't owe anyone anything. I owed myself everything. And I had paid that debt in full. The last piece of the pie was sitting on the counter. Apple. My favorite. I cut myself a slice. I took a bite. It was sweet. Perfect. I looked at my family. The family I had rebuilt. The family I had chosen. The family that had chosen me back. And I smiled. The night was cold. The snow was falling. I stood on Lily's porch, looking up at the sky. My phone buzzed one last time. It was David. Congratulations, Martha. The foundation was officially registered today. You're up and running. I smiled. I typed back. Thank you. For everything. And then I put my phone away. I pulled my coat tighter around me. I walked back inside. The lights were warm. The voices were happy. The laughter was real. And for the first time in 30 years, I had a Thanksgiving worth celebrating. Because I had finally learned the truth. The best revenge isn't getting even. The best revenge is getting freed. So, if you're sitting at a table tonight, surrounded by people who don't see you, who don't hear you, who don't value you, remember this. You have a voice. You have a choice. And it is never, ever too late to walk away. I'm Martha. I lived through it. And so, if you found this story powerful, subscribe and share. Because every woman who hears it might just find the courage to stand up for herself. And that's the most important thing of all.